Work with Webflow online. Now let's build daily interaction number 39. Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to another daily interaction. Hopefully all your endeavors with Webflow are going well. Webflow just announced a few days ago that, they made the e-commerce beta, they made it available for everyone. So now you can play around with e-commerce, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. Webflow is continuing to develop amazing things, and it makes our job easier as web developers. So today we're going to build, for daily interaction number 39, we're going to build a submenu on hover. So this is a nice kind of effect, and I have gotten this request a bit, so we're going to cover it in today's video tutorial. So here I have the demo. So when I hover over these menu items, we have a submenu, and the submenu is styled, so it has kind of it's not just a drop down, it has kind of a square with a corner radius and some hover effects here. So it's just a really nice menu. This was inspired by bloom.co. It's this website here, and I just like the way it's done, and it looks really clean. And so this is what we will be building today. Webflow makes it really easy to build something like this. We're going to be using the drop-down component, so it should just take a few minutes to create this. So this is what we will be building today. To view more daily interactions and premium content, visit webdevforyou.com. Also, be sure to subscribe below to receive a notification every time there is a new daily interaction. Okay, so here I have a blank Webflow project, and we'll start with the daily interaction class naming convention. So it's d dash the daily interaction number, so today is 39, and then the element. So every element on the site will have a d-39 in front of it, and this is for consistency purposes, and so that we know we're working with daily interaction number 39. Okay, and the first thing I'll do here is add a section. So I'll add an element, I'll add a section, and I'll give it the class name d-39 section. And for this, I'll set it to a height of 100 VH, so it spans the full height of the viewport, and it will be the full width as well. I'm also going to give it a display setting of flex, and I'm going to say justify center and align top. So normally if I'm working with the kind of top section, I would have things centered, but just for demonstration purposes, so we have the menu at the top, I'm just going to justify it, this section to the top. But you could also position it absolute, the menu, and place it at the top afterwards. We'll cover that near the end of the tutorial. But yeah, justify center and align top. So now I'll add an element, I'll add a div block, and I'll give it the class name d-39. We'll call it dropdown wrapper. So the dropdown menu items will go inside of this wrapper. And that's all I need to do there. I'm going to add a bit of top margin so it's not flush to the top. And there we go. So Webflow makes it really easy to add dropdowns to your website. All we have to do is go to add elements, and we'll scroll down to components right down here. It's the last section, and I'll add a dropdown. So yeah, there we have a dropdown. If I preview and I click, we have this dropdown with links inside of it. So let's quickly take a look at the structure of a dropdown. So here, if I go to the navigator and I open the section, I open the drop-down wrapper, here we have the drop-down. So initially, if we open the drop-down, we can see the structure of a drop-down button or a drop-down component. So we have the drop-down toggle, which is the button we click on to open the drop-down, and inside the drop-down toggle, we have the icon and the text block. All right, and then we have the drop-down list, which is not initially visible, and the drop-down list is what holds the content of the drop-down when you click the toggle. So we have 3 links right now inside the drop-down list, and if I select any drop-down element and I go to element settings, I can click on open menu. Okay, so yeah, if I click on drop-down or drop-down toggle, or yeah, anything inside of the dropdown, I can open and close the menu so I can work with it in Webflow. All right, so that's basically the makeup of a dropdown. You have the dropdown toggle. You can place anything inside of it, and then you have the dropdown list, and you can place anything inside of it as well. So for this dropdown list, I'm actually going to delete everything inside of it because I want to create this type of dropdown. I want to kind of make it a bit more dynamic and add more elements to it. And right now in the dropdown list, all we have are drop-down links. They're not link blocks, so I can't put things inside of them. They're just drop-down links. So what I want to do is delete all of these links. So I'm just going to select them here in the navigator and just click delete. Okay, so now we have a dropdown with an empty dropdown list. There's nothing in the dropdown list, which gives me the freedom to add anything I want inside of it. So here with the dropdown list selected, I'm going to add an element and I'll add a div block. Okay, and let me go to element settings and open the menu so we can see it. So yeah, I just added this div block. I'll delete it and do it again. So dropdown list, add an element and add a div block. And actually it won't show it because once you delete it, it closes the menu. But yeah, just add a div block in the dropdown list. And yeah, that's all I'll do for now. And yeah, I'll call this this div block, I'll call it D-39 dropdown background. Okay, so this is going to be that purple kind of square with the rounded corners. So what I'll do for this, the dropdown background, is I'll give it a background of this light purple, and I'll set the border radius to 10 pixels. So it's a bit rounded on the corners. I'll give it a display setting of flex, set it to vertical, and set it to, yeah, justify start and align stretch. So we have a list of vertical menus like here in the demo. Okay, so now what I'll do is add the link blocks inside of this drop down background. We don't need to add or set a specific width and height because it's going to inherit its width and height from the link blocks inside of it. Okay, so now with the drop-down background selected, I'll add an element, I'll add a link block, and notice the link block is the same width as its parent element because the parent element has a display setting of justify start and align stretch, so it'll fill its parent element in width. Okay, so with the link block added, we can link out to a URL, a page section, email, telephone number, or a file. So that's why we're adding a link block. And inside the link block, we're going to add a few elements. Okay, so if I go to the demo, we have an icon and the text. So for the link block, I'm going to give it a display setting of flex, set it to horizontal, justify start, and align stretch. So that looks good. So now what I'll do is, yeah, let me first rename the link block to D-39. We'll just say link block. Okay. So yeah, now I'll add a text block so we can add this icon here. So I'll add an element. I'll add a text block right in here, and I'll call this D-39 menu item icon. And for this, I want to go to fontawesome.com. I do go over how to install Font Awesome in a premium content, so I'm not going to cover that in this tutorial. But basically, I'll just search for an icon. I'll type in bell, so we can get that first bell. So here I have the bell. I'll click on it. I'll select the icon here, click to copy Unicode glyph, go back into Webflow. I'll double click and paste that glyph in there. So let me go back in here. Every time you click out of the toggle, it closes the menu. So you want to select it, go to element settings and select open menu. Okay, so we have the icon. In order for it to become a Font Awesome icon, I need to go to styles and go to typography and give it the Font Awesome font type. So I'm going to set it to Font Awesome 400, and there we can see the bell. It does have an underline, and that's because it's inside of a link block. So I want to go to the navigator, select the link block, and then go down to typography and set the underline to none, so there's no underline there. I'll go ahead and select the icon again, and then I'll style it a bit. So I'm going to set it to a color of white, and I'll make it a bit larger, something like 24, and the line height we'll set it to 40, maybe 20 for the icon, and a line height of 30. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and add the text. All right, so I'll select the link block. I can select it here in the navigator, add an element. I'll add a text block, and I'll call this D-39 menu item text. All right, and for the text, the first one, let's see what it says here. It says hello, so I'll just say hello. And for the, so I clicked out of the drop down again, open menu. So for the text here, I'm going to give it a display setting of flex, justify horizontal, justify center, and align center, so that text is in the center. All right, the next thing I'll do is style the text a bit. So this text has a font type of Mooly, and I'll set the color to white. And I'll add some margin to the left so it's not so close to the icon. And then I'll select the link block here in the navigator, and I'll add some padding to the left, maybe like 15, so that icon isn't so close. And yeah, we'll do something like that as well. Okay, there, so maybe add some, or no margin there. Okay, so there we have the icon and the text. So now what I want to do is copy this link block 4 more times, so we have 4 menu items. So here in the navigator, I'll select the link block, hit Command-C to copy, then in the drop-down background, I'll paste 4 times. And because the drop-down background has a display setting of flex and vertical, and justify start and align stretch, the link blocks line up on top of each other. So now I'll select the link block here, go to styles, and I'll give it some bottom and top margin. So I'll say hold down Alt, and maybe give it some bottom and top margin of 5. And actually what I want to do here, I don't want to add margin, but I want to add padding, and that'll be clear, a bit more clear in a second, because we are going to have a hover effect so when the user hovers, the link block gets a bit darker. All right, so we have the link block. So let me just change the text. We have hello, welcome, features, and info. Let me just change it here. Welcome, features, and info. Okay, so for the drop-down background, I'm going to select it here in the navigator. I'm going to add a bit of padding to the left and the right, or maybe some margin. Yeah, some negative margin to make it a bit wider. Okay, and actually let me do something like this. 20. Okay, that's better. So I'm just giving some negative margin to the right and adding some margin to the left so that it lines up with the drop-down text in here. Okay, and these are just styling things that I'm doing here. You can style it however you'd like. And then also for the drop-down background, I'm going to add some padding to the bottom and the top. So there we go. So if I preview and I click, looks good. So we notice we have this gray here, and that's because the drop-down list, if I select it here, has a background of DDD. The hex DDD, so it's kind of like a gray color. So I want to select it here and select transparent, so we don't see any color there. All right, so yeah, it's coming along. We have that. The other thing we want to add is, let me go back in here, and yeah, so let me do something a little different here. Actually, for the demo background, I'm going to set the right margin to 0, and for the link block, I'm going to add some padding. Yeah, some padding to the right. I like that idea better. Yeah, so the link blocks will always be the full width of the the drop-down background. Okay. Yeah, so there we go. And now we need to add that little triangle right here. So to do that, we'll select the drop-down background. We'll add a div block, and I'll call this D-39 drop down corner, and I'll give it a width of 20 pixels by 20 pixels, and I'll set it to a position of absolute and position it in the top left, and then I'll give it a background of purple, the same color as the drop down background. I'll add a rotation, so here where it says transforms, right here, I'll add a transform, say rotate, and I'll rotate it 45 degrees there. So that looks good. And also for the, let me go ahead and select the drop down background. Again, I'll remove the left margin and I'll add the padding instead. Or actually for the link block, I'll add a bit more padding, or 20 pixels is good. Okay, so instead of adding the margin, I'm just adding padding to the link block, which expands the background, the drop down background. Okay, so here with the drop down corner selected, I'll add some top margin of, let's say, -6, and some left margin of let's say -20. Then I'll select the entire drop down list. Here in the navigator, I'll just say drop down list, and I'll move it 20 pixels so it aligns with the text here. So you might notice I'm working a lot with margin and padding. These are all styling. My voice cracked a little bit. These are all styling options, and I'm just using it to kind of get the right size for the link blocks and the background of this kind of container here. All right, so I'll preview. If I click the drop down, we have that little triangle and we have the menu. All right, so there's just a few other things we need to do. So I'll open the menu. So for the link block, I'm going to go to states. I'm going to select the hover state, and I'm going to scroll down to background, and I'm going to set the background to black and give it an opacity of 30%. So it gets a bit darker as the user hovers over each menu item. Okay, and then I'll go back to states of none. So we click and looks good. So we notice that we can see the corner here. So let's just add some Z index to the menu items. So I'll open the menu, and for the link block, I'll give it a Z index of, set it to a position of relative and give it a Z index of 10. So now I'll preview, and the link block is above the corner, so we don't see that square in the upper left. All right, so we're almost there. So I'll open the menu again. I'm just gonna do a bit more styling to the text. I'm gonna make it Mooly light there, and maybe add a bit more padding, maybe 60. Something like that. All right, so we have that nice drop down, and let me open it here, and I'll make the icon a bit smaller. So I'll say something like 18, and that looks good. So to have multiple drop downs, all I need to do now is I'll close the drop down, just hit Command-C to copy, and then in the drop down wrapper, I'll paste 4 more times. I also don't need this triangle here, or this arrow pointing down, so I'm going to delete it for each one. And that's basically it. And I'll, actually, let me delete these really quick. Let me style this a bit more. So for the drop down text, I'm going to call it D-39 drop down. I'll just say drop down text, and we'll style it a bit. So I'll give it a color of this darker purple there, and we'll give it the font. We'll say Mooly, and make it a bit larger, maybe 18 or 16. And so now I'll Command-C, hit Command-C to copy. Select the drop down here in the navigator, and I'll paste 4 more times. And now I'll just rename it to, let's see, Home About Features and Pricing. So Home About Features and Pricing. Okay. So now I'll preview, and there we go. So notice I have to click to open them. In the demo, I just have to hover. So to have it open on hover, we'll just go select the drop down, go to element settings, and right here where it says open menu on hover, you want to select that. So yeah, you'll have to do it for all 4 because we did this after we copied. But if you did it before you copied, they would have this setting. So you want to select open menu on hover. Now I preview, and there we go. And simple as that. So yeah, just a few more styling things, and yeah, we'll have a really nice drop-down menu. Perfect. That's it. That looks good. You could add more icons. So here I had, like a calendar icon. And yeah, so I'll copy here, copy the Unicode glyph, and you can just, yeah, go into here and open the menu and just paste that new icon in there, and you have a different icon. So yeah, you can just go to Font Awesome and replace the icons. But that's pretty much it. You can afterwards, like, rather than having it positioned with the flex setting, you can select the demo wrapper and position it absolute, and then you can kind of place it anywhere you'd like. So I can place it in the upper left and then add some margin and things like that. And then I can change the flex setting of the section and add anything I want in the center. I could add like an image. So here I'll select an image and choose an image, and then I have some images here. Yeah, so we also want to set the section. Well, let's see here. Let me undo that. So choose image, and I'll choose this one. Yeah, there we go. So we have the image, yeah, and it's in the center, and then we have the menu absolutely positioned. All right, so yeah, that is it for daily interaction number 39. There's one last thing. This menu here has a shadow. So let me just grab the shadow properties here from the demo. And let's see. So I'll select the background and the drop shadow. So it's 180, 15, 30, and 0, and 30% opacity. All right, so let's do that really quick. So let's open it. Go to open menu, select the background, go to styles, and we'll add a drop shadow. We'll say 180, 15, was that right? And 30, did I get that right? Let's see, yeah, 180, 15, and 30. And the color, we'll set it to the light purple and give it an opacity of 30%. All right, so yeah, they have a nice little shadow underneath it. Yeah, so that's basically it. A lot of what I did was styling, but yeah, that's what you'll kind of do when you're adding the dropdown. I mean, you can get super creative with it, and it's just, yeah, Webflow makes it really easy. Just add the dropdown component, and then you can style anything inside of it. You can add elements to the dropdown list. You can customize the dropdown toggle, and you can set it to on click or on hover. So it's like super customizable. The sky's the limit. Like, you can do anything with these drop down menus. Yeah, and you can even add animations with interactions 2.0 in Webflow and make something really amazing. Yeah, so that's it for daily interaction number 39. It was inspired by this here, bloom.co, where they have this nice little drop down menu. All right, looks good. So I'll go back to the demo here, and perfect. So that is it for daily interaction, yeah, number 39. To view more daily interactions and premium content, visit webdevforyou.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next daily interaction.